Where was I? There we go. I think that's all, God, that's strange, made up for by our speakers this afternoon. Today we had presentations from 4 distinguished experts, both in the field of software testing and 2 in requirements engineering. Our first is from Laura, and we have one from, in fact, 3 people from Germany today. Werner Liebling, Klaus Paul, and Chris Rock. I'll introduce those individually when we come to time. Now, I know you don't want to listen to me, so I'm not going to give a big speech, but I'd just like to introduce Laura Hager from the United States. I've been hearing interesting things about the part of the world she lives in, but I'm not sure whether she can share that with us today. Laura has 40 years in the IT and computing industry. She's practiced QA and configuration management for over 15 years in the areas of web, IT, and database. Laura has established configuration management tools, project processes, and conducted configuration management activities in support of testers and testing. Laura brings today configuration, that's why they call it CM, case history and lessons learned to a presentation. And this is an important support area for both engineering and software testers. So please welcome Laura and a presentation titled What Every Tester Needs to Know About Configuration Management. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone. A brief introduction. Excuse me, I get a little emotional about this because it's gratitude. And gratitude makes me happy, but it also makes me cry. I express my gratitude today to Ms. Jura Adosima and my husband, John Hagar, for their encouragement in bringing me here today to share this information with you. This information on software CM. I'm also grateful to persons in my past who have invested many hours, time, effort, energy to allow me to be more highly skilled. And I hope that each of you will take something from my presentation today in something that you are doing, something that you are managing, something that you are practicing. I believe that we're here on a journey of learning, and I'm very grateful that you are here today. Today I offer this material to you so that you too can be more highly skilled, and I can read my own writing, and have awareness of the importance of configuration management, or CM, on software projects. And I ask for your attention, your kind attention, for the next 40 minutes or less if I talk faster. So as we get started, may I ask what your background is? How many of you are managers? Good. How many of you are testers? Oh, good. About a half and half mix. Are there any developers in the house? Oh, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Please do not take offense if I say something negatively about any of those 3 categories, those roles. Please. Remember, we're all in this together, and by all pitching in together and managing things together, it's going to make a better product. And a better product equals better profits, so that we all have jobs and we're all successful. Okay, so let's get started here. Here's a brief agenda. Excuse me. A brief agenda. The first thing we want to do is cover definitions and context. We're going to talk about the CM organization, what exactly CM controls, our processes,
is one of the authors that I studied on CM. And he says that controlled evolution means that you not only understand what you have when you're delivering it, but you understand what you have while you are developing it. And control helps to obtain maximum productivity with minimal confusion when a group of those programmers, developers, and testers are working together on a common piece of software. And the goal is to maximize productivity by minimizing mistakes. And I think this statement by Wayne really reinforces some of the things that you've already heard over the last couple of days. Okay, some definitions and context. Configuration management simply means the management of change. You change one line of code, you change any bit of syntax, you have changed something in the product. And you need to be careful about those changes. Configuration items are exactly what is controlled. My little Java guy there, for those of you that work in Java, will remember him. Configuration items can be the smallest things, single line scripts, installation scripts, test procedures. It can be almost anything. It most commonly is artifacts of the development process. You can have the larger items, version description documents. Anybody ever heard of a version description document or a VDD? Yes, good, good. You have to know what you have in that product, and that VDD is going to outline that for you. Configuration status accounting provides the accountability of the status of items under CM control. CSA and quality circles is referred to commonly. That is your status accounting for the project. Be prepared to answer questions regarding your status accounting. CRs, DRs, PRs, it doesn't matter what you call them. It's all bugs. It's all problems. Everything is documented in one of those commonly referred to items. And we count those things. We don't count beans in CM like the accountants do. We count CRs, DRs, and PRs. More commonly, you have one board to control the product in the life cycle. CRBs, change review boards, CCBs, they can have a number of different names. As long as you have one common board and you have representatives on that board from each role on project, so that all interests are represented when you examine what is the problem, what's it going to take to fix it, how long is it going to take to fix it, what's it going to cost to fix it, how are we going to test it, are we going to regression test, are we using a specific test technique. All of these things are outlined in these problem reports. And this board reviews all of that information so that you can know how to proceed forward. Test integration and test. We've talked about tests so many days, so I'm going to let that one go. Okay, I commonly refer to PPC up here. Whether you're on a program, a project, or if you're just with a company. If you see PPC, that means you can interchange those labels. Okay, your organization in CM, the most common organizations in CM, they can be one person or they can be a whole team. One of the projects I worked on, we had over 200 configuration management personnel. We had a specific piece of the team that only controlled documentation, what we commonly call artifacts, plans, processes, things like that. On one project I was on, I was the single CM person, but I did the work of 5 people. And by the time I left the project, we were down to 3 people, and it took many hours of overtime for those 3 people to still maintain all of the configuration management for the project. So a CM organization doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be small, but you do need to do good CM. CM can report to any of those management teams, engineering, development, product. I don't recommend that, because if I am controlling data related to and change related to development, and I work for the development manager, I tend to be a little biased, and that's not what you want. You really want the independence. When we talked earlier, the last couple of days, we talked about developers writing code and then throwing it over the wall to the tester. CM is an integrated process of development. There's no throwing anything over the wall. It's arm in arm, linked together. We're working on this together. We're producing things together. Even though I see that you as a developer may be making some mistakes, it doesn't matter. We're going to work on this together and solve this as a team. So I encourage CM organizations to be independent. One of those is addressing the legal department. On one project I was on, there was a lawsuit filed, and even though we had 51 baselines, one customer claimed that they got another customer's code, and CM had to prove through version descriptions documents which customer got which code. So CM can be involved in legal issues in producing the evidence for lawyers in courts, which is another reason you want CM to be independent. So, okay, so the things that CM controls in a software development project, we control code or software. We control documentation, which could be requirements, design, models. On one project I was on, we were controlling the math models used as code was executed. So, and you notice the asterisks? These are specific to the testers in-house, because these items are items that testers really control, but testers do check those items in with CM so that those artifacts are controlled by CM, and the changes to those artifacts are controlled. And as you see, next to the test environment, the reason you control these things is for repeatability and integrity. And CM, every CM person I know is known for their integrity, which is very important in this day and age. Products being tested, products baselined, these are all items that CM controls. As you can see, there are great implications in what CM controls. Processes. The reason that you get CM involved in your processes, number one, I'm an experienced CM person like myself. I've been through Kaizen events. I've been through Green Book training. So I can assist you in refining your processes to ensure that your processes are efficient and effective. I can also help you document those programs. I have an extensive knowledge of technical documentation. So you're going to want someone who's very skilled and very versatile in their skills to assist you. Again, ideally you want one change board or a focal point for all changes, and CM will facilitate those boards. So CM is also a coordinator, a facilitator, and those take great skill. If you question that, ask Jeremy, who's helping to run the conference. It is very difficult to coordinate, get every person on board, get every person at a meeting at a specific time, get a decision coming out of a meeting. And again, configuration status accounting, CM reports to the team, to the customer. CM, we're also statisticians to a great degree. We must understand statistics, and you'll see that coming up. We have to we actually mentally track CRs and DRs. If I know that I'm holding a board 3 days a week, and I start off the week and I only have 10 CRs, but by the third meeting, I've got 150 CRs. There's a trend going on there. I'm going to be looking and talking to my test people and my QA people and my management and saying, I think we have a problem. So mentally I'm tracking things, but in my tool, I'm also tracking things. Okay, spokes and hubs support the shape of the wheel. The wheel will not turn without them. Okay, it has no structure. So just because it is a support activity does not lessen the value that you get from it. Okay, so identify, configure, and declare, and also name your baseline. That's CM's job, controlling the changes, managing them, and the baseline to ensure testing is done thoroughly and correctly. There's a very tight coordination going on between CM and test here. CM assists IoT with controlled test procedures and results tracking. There again, we're controlling the artifacts and how the changes and when the changes are being made to those artifacts. We coordinate with, test coordinates with CM on formal builds, how those are tested. So in the world of a waterfall life cycle and let's say a certification environment, could be man-rated vehicles, could be something that needs to be certified, such as medical devices. When you do a build and you hand it over to test, everything has to be very carefully documented. And you proceed, you cannot jump steps. You must proceed in an orderly, rigorous fashion. And so when I say formal builds, you can do interim builds. Developers are entitled to an interim build that they can go off and test on their own. But that's an interim build. That is not a formal build. That is not a build that the entire test team is going to be dedicated to testing. So CM and test form a very powerful team. They are the power team on the project, even though they're support activities. Primary roles of testers: to test and verify requirements to code, identify the defects in the system, document the defects, verify the defect resolutions are correctly implemented. Just because in the CR there is a specific change documented doesn't mean that that's how the developer implemented it. So the testers, it's their job to figure out how it was fixed, because testers have to figure out how to test it. If they don't understand it, they won't know how to test it. Again, CM is very important, as is test, in these two powerful support roles. CM and test ensure the system under test satisfies the customer's needs, verifies the system against requirement specifications. CM is always involved in requirements definition, requirements planning, and documenting requirements. Okay, another sample CM process workflow for Agile. It looks quite a bit different, doesn't it? You're still controlling these things, which actually relate back to these things. So the CM is important no matter your life cycle. In Agile, CM can be tool-based, it can be tied to the sprints, the Agile teams, continuous builds, testing. You still need CM. Internally, externally, etc. Where internal is, if I can get this to work. Internal equals less formal, external equals more formal. Okay, CM tools.
We just had this conversation earlier today. When you go to pick a tool, you go in with an expectation and a few requirements about that tool. I encourage you, if you're picking a tool, whether it's a CM tool, a test tool, whatever, do not let that tool force you into something that's going to overload your processes just because it's a great tool. Everybody's using this tool. Let's use this tool. Don't allow that tool to force you into something that's going to cost you more money. Cost to benefit ratio comes in dramatically here. A quick anecdote. One of the projects I was on, I picked out a tool, web-based, $70,000. I had it almost configured. It was very easy to configure. It was very easy to use. I left the project before the tool was actually implemented. Little incident, someone in another department came in and backdoored me with management. And they decided that, no, that this program, small program, just a few $1 million program, needed to be using this most popular tool, IBM Rational tool, okay? We have to use this tool. The license is free. We'll even send somebody into your program and help you implement it. Okay, $4 million program. 2 years after I left, the tool that I had chosen for $70,000 was never implemented. They had spent $1.5 million, close to $2 million, trying to get the IBM Rational tool to work for them. It would have totally changed their processes. The program had processes that had been in place for 20 years. Everything, all the other tools worked with those processes. By introducing this other tool, they had spent almost half the value of the program to implement the tool. They had to change the processes. Again, you've got multiple costs going on here. So the tool was ruling the day. Don't allow that to happen, okay? Just because it's the newest, it's the best, it's the one that's been around the most, it's everybody's favorite, doesn't mean it's the tool for you. So be very careful about tools. CM tools don't have to be, excuse the expression, walk on water and dance through fire to be the best tool for your program. Sometimes the smaller tools, the $70,000 tool, and this was a program of 60 engineers, okay? 14 testers, 60 engineers. We did not need a multi-million-dollar tool. So just a little learning experience for you there. Tools help you define your life cycle and establish your processes. Did you realize that? Did you realize that the tools are actually forcing you into these things? Okay, create your plans. They also define your team's roles. They help you establish how builds will be named and tracked. They help you define the builds to create your VDDs. They can help with testing. It's best if your project has a workflow in mind. How many of you understand the term workflow? Yes? Yes? Okay. For those of you, if you don't understand workflow, please go look it up in Wikipedia. Wiki pages on workflow. It's really important that you understand a workflow, and it doesn't matter if you're in software, if you're in hardware, if you're whatever you're doing. If you can talk about your own workflow, which is your own processes, you can walk into any project, any program, and readily see from a high level how things should work. And it puts you in a really good position to do a Kaizen event. Workflow, that's a good buzzword to understand. Again, best not to allow any tool to force your project to use
a workflow that does not make sense for you, again, this costs very large amounts of money. Understanding money is another long topic. Okay, CM tools bring high value to any project, program, or company. And CM should actually pick the tool that assists the entire team. That's important, that's why I underlined it. The entire team with build status accounting processes and integrates well with other project tools as required. It doesn't have to integrate with your requirements tool. It's nice if it does, but it doesn't have to. Okay, example tools, and I'm not going to go through and give you a long list of tools. There are different CM tools, obviously build tools, installation tools, tracking tools, client server data, local data model, distributed models. Find out what your context is. Pick your tool. These references will help you. Okay, cost to benefit. Well, we've talked about that a little bit. First, let's talk about that renegade up front. Okay, the renegade says, but I only changed one line of code. Yeah, and then that one line got, the change wasn't controlled, and that change made it into a build, and the change didn't get unit tested or fully tested, and then that change made it to the end product. The change failed, and it caused several other product failures. It's a game of dominoes with code. The result, so the customer was very unhappy with the end product. The product failed, and all that money and energy was wasted. Take that example to anybody who wants to play renegade. I've worked with renegades. They're maddening. Okay, so chaos and confusion equals money spent that cannot be recouped. Putting CM practices in place at the start equals a valid return on your investment. CM done right helps development, helps testers, helps the project, helps the bottom line. Profit. Profit equals jobs. Jobs equal economy. Solid economy. Isn't that what we all want? Okay, here's my favorite cartoon. Can everybody see what that is? Can you see that it's chickens with no heads? Okay, this is from Wayne Babbage again. It says, confusion diverts energy from the real work of developing software. And that is what you will have if you don't use the CM tool and if you don't practice good CM on your program.